everyone, and welcome to today's Way Forward Workshop Leader Lunch Break, where we are pleased to welcome Alexandria Johnson Boone to the conversation. Alex seemingly finds boundless time to advance her two passions, the Women of Color Foundation, where she serves as chairwoman and founder, and GAP Gap Communications Group, where she leads as president and CEO. While in truth, her time is not boundless, her passion most definitely is. The Women of Color Foundation is dedicated to the education, the empowerment, the training, and the leadership development of women and girls of all colors. Alex and the foundation have produced powerful development retreats, conferences, and special events across the region. Having had the honor of personally participating in several, I can attest to their tremendous value. Hundreds of women, including many of you on this call, have been inspired by the carefully crafted experiences, which are the realization of her vision to uplift women. She also gives back mightily to our community. She founded CL Magazine for Women and Girls. She has served on countless boards, including the Urban League of Greater Cleveland Partnership, as well as visiting committees at Weatherhead School of Management and the Office of Inclusion, Diversity, and Equal Opportunity at Case Western Reserve University. Her numerous awards recognize her as a communicator, a trailblazer, an outstanding woman of color, and my favorite, a woman who changed the world. We are proud to call her an alum of Leadership Cleveland, class of 1988, and we are honored that she will be joined in conversation today with the Cleveland Leadership Center's Senior Fellow, Dr. Claudia Owens. Dr. Owens, I turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Mary Ann. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Leader Lunch Break. As Mary Ann said, my name is Claudia Owens, and it is an honor to talk with a local legend, Alexandria Johnson Boone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, Claudia. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Alex, you are the chairwoman, founder of Women of Color Foundation that you started 20 years ago. Talk to us about how you developed the organization.
Okay, Claudia, so let me start with Mary Ann. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. You made it all sound so easy, but it wasn't easy at all. It took me 20 years. I did a lot of crying, screaming, begging, pleading, trying to network to try to get this organization off the ground. We started out originally as Women of Color Events.com. We were just a website where people could sign up to attend our various leadership development events. So nobody was circling my home with money and offers of sponsorships and all of that. That has been truly a 20-year journey. And I went to one of my friends who was, her name was Joanne Clark, and Joanne was the president of the National City Bank Foundation at that time. And she and I were very good friends. And it's important for me to say that Joanne is a longtime friend and she's a white female. And I started this out as Women of Color Foundation, and we started focusing on African-American women only because women that look like me. So I reached out to Joanne and she said, Alex, I don't know if women that are African-American or other women of color need a special place to connect. She says, but if you say so, I believe you. And National City, who's now PNC, God bless them, wrote the first check for $10,000. And then launched the Women of Color Foundation. And here we are about to celebrate year 21.
Wow. Tell us how it's evolved over the years.
Well, it evolved slowly and carefully. It did catch on, though, faster than I thought, because I didn't know there were so many like-minded women out there who were dealing with some of the same issues I had. I mean, we have our triumphs and our successes, but we have our failures and we have our heartbreaks. And when we started publicizing the event, I'll never forget the first Save the Day card we sent out. I was at George Frazier's office, and George is a dear friend. And he showed me this postcard and he said, Alex, did you see this postcard? They're putting together a women's event for Black women and they're doing it at Walden. And I said, George, that's my save the day card. And he almost fell off his chair because he wasn't expecting that, because nobody was doing what I'm trying to do and still trying to do here in Cleveland. And now we've had the pleasure of growing beyond the Ohio borders nationally. And next year, our 2024 event is going to be global. So really excited.
Oh, how wonderful.
That's wonderful. With that involvement, talk about some of the programs that you're currently hosting and the outcomes that you're seeing from the various programs.
Well, I can't start that conversation without thanking all the millions of people who have, over the years, I exaggerate a little bit when I say millions, let's say hundreds of thousands, who have participated in our many programs. But some of our signature programs have been our annual personal and professional development retreat. And that has been hosted by various organizations and institutions. And we've enjoyed great support financially from a number of partners and foundations. So that was my flagship. And then we started doing the C-Suite Executive Women's Summit, which was for a different audience at a different location. But probably my favorite is one that people would not necessarily think would be my favorite, but it's called the Equity Project. And the Equity Project was funded by the Deaconess Foundation and the St. Luke's Foundation. I went to them and I said, look, there is a whole group of women out here who are marginalized, ignored, disrespected. And these are women who are living at or below the poverty level. And I decided that that was going to be our next big project. We had other little things in between, but the Equity Project, and our tagline is Black Women Helping Black Women. And Deaconess said to me, Alex, you're really focusing on the audience that we want to reach. Mm-hmm. So they supported us. St. Luke's Foundation helped us buy the digital devices, because these women, sometimes they were homeless. They didn't have devices so they could interact or network. They didn't have childcare. They didn't have jobs. And the Equity Project, according to them, we've changed some of their lives. And when I can change a life, my work is done. I remember a while ago, and I'm hoping I don't get choked up, but Fifth Third Bank was a sponsor, and they asked me if they could invite one of their women who have been recently released from prison. And I said, no. I said, don't use your slot. I'll give you a slot. Mm-hmm. This woman at that particular event was at the Firestone Country Club. So we were really in high cotton, okay? And she wrote me a note and a check for $10.
Wow.
First gift was $10,000. Second gift, $10. But they're equally as important to me, because she came in her Sunday best. She even had on a hat, because she didn't know how to dress. And we made sure that she had her own name badge and that she was included as part of what we were doing for everyone. Another great story is that I have done for 5 years events down at the Ohio Reformatory for Women. And I had a chance to present to the Women's Lifers Club. There's 200 women in the Women's Lifers Club. So my thing is, I'm all over the place, but I'm all about women of any and all colors. In my life, I have white women, Black women, Native women. I've spent a week on a reservation with my Native sisters, Latino sisters, Asian sisters. We may have all come over on different ships, but we're all in the same boat today.
You know, and as you said, you hosted a 20th anniversary celebration. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that anniversary.
Wow, that's all I can tell you. And hopefully some of the people on this call, like I see Dana and Montree and Meltrice, they were there, so they can attest. It was amazing. And We had some friends from the Cleveland Foundation. I mean, we sold out our very first time, and we were all the way down in Warren, Ohio. But I needed a place where women could feel safe and that we could relax. And we took over the whole place because I didn't want anybody saying, oh, they're too loud. It's too many of them. They're too busy. So we were able to have an amazing celebration of sisterhood, success. And it was just, I can't wait. You know, we have our second annual coming up in November, and I'm hoping that it will be even larger than before. The hotel was so happy with this. They were like, when are you coming back?
I'll tell you, it all sounds so wonderful.
It
What's your
was.
vision for the foundation now as you look forward?
Oh my. Well, I've got so much I would like to see the foundation do, but succinctly, I would say I want our first global conference to be truly as successful as our first national conference. I also would like for the Women of Color one day to have its own building, because I would like for people to come to the Women of Color Foundation Career and Leadership Development Institute. They can come and do research. They can come and complain. They can come and cry. They can come and laugh. They can come and hug. And they can come for free, and they can be authentic. One of the things I'm most proud about is that because of the corporate sponsorship we get, women are allowed to attend many of our events in no charge. We have what they call registration scholarships. I'm kind of like the lady in the movie Poltergeist when she was welcoming the dead across the line. I was like, all are welcome. Walk this way. Because the Women of Color Foundation, we will embrace you, and we will change our lives and yours.
This has been so wonderful. I could take up all of your time, but we have so many that are here that want to have an opportunity to ask you questions too as well.
Okay.
I'm going to let my time go and hand it over to Michael so he can ask you some of the questions that so many want to. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Dr. Claudia.
So the moderator should never mute himself. Thank you so much, Claudia, for your questions. And thank you, Alex, for your candor and your wonderful answers. I'm going to start out. We do have some questions coming in. And again, please put any questions in the chat directly to me or to everyone. But I'm going to start with one of personal privileges as one of the few men on this call.
Okay.
Your mission is vitally important. I'm just curious what role men have in it and how men can be partners or help you in your work, and if you have any experience or where that's happened over the years.
So let me say, there's a place for everyone, and white men have been my allies. One of my strongest mentors and supporters, I was working for the U.S. Navy at that time, and Captain Paul McKelvey, who's retired now, took me under his wing. I have had so many, you'd be surprised, mentors, supporters, and allies that look just like you, Michael, because the world looks like all of us on this call. It doesn't look like you, doesn't look like just me. But, you know, when I call white men out, I'm calling them out for help and for support. Not to say, oh, you're not this, you shouldn't do that. It's all about everybody, because at the end of the day, we have all on some level experienced some kind of sexism, racism. We all, because there's no humanity in the world anymore, no empathy, no sympathy. So to me, white men have played an integral role. George Voinovich, God rest his soul, was my favorite white man on the planet, Michael. I'm sorry. And when he passed away, I felt like my father had died, because he was a person that changed the trajectory of my career and did so many things to position me on a global and national stage and to embolden the work of the Women of Color Foundation. He appointed me to the Ohio Women's Policy and Research Commission, which unfortunately was sunset, but I had a chance to go to the UN Conference on Women in Beijing, China, Had I not been in that position, because I was later elected chair of the commission, I was able to spend 8 days in China and have input to the policy affecting women all over the world. So I love white guys.
And how about black men? Because we have a few on this call as well.
They're okay. They're usually problematic. All are welcome.
Really. So what fuels your passion for all this work, and what keeps you energized and focused to keep doing it? For 20 years is quite a milestone.
Yeah. You know, the most important thing to me, Michael, is when people say, I'm so glad I came to this conference. Or they say things like, I've been watching you. No. I want people to watch the work that we're doing. I am not an island by myself. I have a staff. I have an amazing Women of Color Foundation board, and I couldn't do it all by myself. But people have come and jumped on board, because when I'm dead and gone, I want people to remember the work, not me. On Saturday, Michael, I turned 76 years old,
Oh,
and I'm still going strong. Try and stop me, because I have work to do. God has spared me. I had a serious health issue in 2019, and he spared my life. And I said, okay, you spared me because you have more work for me to do. And then all of the doors started opening. One of my spiritual guides is Marcia Maccabee from the Urban League. And we talk all the time about how God intervenes in our lives in a positive way and moves people out of your way when he needs to. So I stopped worrying about the money, because if the mission is pure, the money will follow. And that's been my experience. And I'm just delighted for everyone that's ever given us $10 to know that they have impacted this work for 21 years.
What a great philosophy, and you're getting some happy birthday messages, and let me
Am I? Okay.
Happy birthday. You touched though on something that we started out when we were just sort of warming up for today, and that's collaboration and working with partners. Can you talk about what that looks like in your organization, and how you go about approaching collaboration, and where you found successes?
So my success is I consider myself a master networker, because I try to know or get to know as many people as I can in ways that I touch them in different ways. But the collaboration is women in need and women who have the help. I have worked with the YWCA for years, the Urban League, and it's just like Leadership Cleveland. Marianne can attest to that. I've worked with the FBI. I've worked with the Odie Company. I am working with people who have a shared vision. I remember Trina Evans said to me, she's a dear friend, and she's a chief of staff at Key. And she said, Alex, I don't know if this whole white privilege thing is real. She says, I worked my way up. She says, but if there's anything I can do to embolden the work that you are doing with the Women of Color Foundation, please let me know. And Trina didn't step up. She stepped all the way up. I have new friends back, my friends from PNC. We kind of lost touch, but they're back on board because people have continued to watch the work and I didn't know it. So I'm happy that people are understanding that this is all about the work. It's not about me.
Well, and that leads me to a question. You mentioned you had a birthday recently, and none of us are getting younger, and you'll be here for a long, long time.
I hope so.
But what are the plans to sustain the foundation since you built it and have nurtured it and turned it into what it is? What are its plans for the future and for sustainability?
Okay, so I knew I had to come up with a succession plan, but I didn't know where to start, okay, because I've been chief cook and bottle washer for so long. And then I was like, are they going to take over? I have this amazing board that has helped us put together an amazing strategic plan with the help of Dr. Ellen Burtz Cooper. And my board, I'm waving at all of you, because without you, we would not be here. Because now we're about to hire some staff, Michael, some full-time staff, so I can take a break and really try to retire. Because everybody is jumping on board to help us identify the resources to hire some full-time staff, because there's so much more for us to do. And so I just thank my board. I keep saying that, but sometimes, you have to let them know. A friend of mine told me people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And without them, I would not be sitting here having this amazing conversation about 21 years of helping women and girls of all colors.
I don't know you that well, Alex, but I think you're going to be one of those who fails retirement. But I do hope you get to enjoy those days when the time finally comes. But
Right.
speaking of the strategic plan and the vision, you mentioned earlier, you're not just in Cleveland anymore. Can you
Mhm.
talk about anything the plan might address to build you out further around the country and even globally?
Okay, so our second annual National Executive Women's Summit is November 12 through 15, and we're going to be at the Grand Resort in Warren again. So that has, we've doubled down on our national presence. So in 2024, my goal is to make this a global conference. We're looking at different cities as we speak, but I have friends, personal friends in Canada, South Africa, the Bahamas, Jamaica, New England. I almost said New England. I mean England, England, across the pond, and in Paris, France. I'm going for the gusto because I think that what started me on that trip was a long time ago, Michael. I received an award from Rita Singh, and I received their first ever Elite Women Around the World Award. And I was like, wow, around the world. I have this pad by my nightstand and I'm writing. Sometimes I think I'm writing in my sleep, but when you think of things, you have to write it down. And I thanked Rita for the amazing award, and it is beautiful, but it gave me motivation and inspiration to take this event to another level. So 2024, watch out, global.
I'm already looking forward to it. That's quite a plan. I'm going to bring back welcome. That's exciting to hear. You started out in Cleveland as a product of the Cleveland Public Schools.
I did.
Talk about your life's journey from then until today, and how you got to where you are, and how that set you on your path.
Okay, how I got to where I am. Well, wherever that is, God's grace, and lots of amazing friends and mentors, and some tormentors, by the way. But sometimes when you're tormented, that motivates you just as much. I do want to say one quick thing, though, before I answer that question, Michael, and that is that we have 46 faculty last year, and almost half of the faculty were men. And so I want everybody to know that they're welcome. So in terms of where I've come from, I was born in Cleveland. Like many people, I lived in the projects only for about 6 months because my parents had just moved here. And I went to Cleveland Public Schools. I graduated from Charles Eliot and from John Adams. And then I went on to Case Western Reserve and got my master's at the Weatherhead School. And that was an amazing experience. But so many of the people that supported the work that I didn't even know I would be doing have gone on. But Case Western Reserve, that master's degree put me on the map. And I got my master's without completing my bachelor's. I was working on my bachelor's degree at DePaul University in Chicago. And I heard about this program where if your life experience was valuable, and if you had a very high GPA, which I did at the time. So the Weatherhead School accepted me without having my bachelor's degree, and the rest is history. But they did use me, and I don't mind being used because I helped them recruit all these other people who had to pay all this tuition. And mine was student loans. And of course now everybody's student loans are forgiven or erased. And so I was like 40 years too early. But the Weatherhead School gave me a whole new perspective on the world and what my role in that world would be. Since that time, I have seen sexism and racism at dangerous numbers. And my goal now is to take this education and this network. And I also was a fellow at Boston University. And it was amazing I was a public health fellow. And because, women of color and women, period, are treated disparately and the healthcare sector as well. But I thought I can use this education, the network, the contacts, the supporters, the friends, the allies, to make it better for all of us. That's what I am looking forward to. My parents both lived into their 90s. My mom was 92 and my dad was going on 97. So I might have 20 more years to torment and agitate people about equity and inclusion. So I'm looking forward
Good
to
for you.
this
And what would you
thing.
want to tell those other young girls, especially who are in the Cleveland schools now? What do they need to know now to be successful and have an impact?
Michael, that's easy. Never give up. Lift as you climb. Follow your passion. But don't talk about, oh, I dreamed, I want. Don't dream. Stop dreaming. Do the work. It takes hard work to bring people together. And because you know what I'm doing here, Michael, is a movement. But as I said, all are welcome because we have to train the world, train people how to treat women and girls. And one of the things that I like to say is that the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. My Bible, my personal Bible says, train up a girl in the way she should go, and she will change the world.
Well, and you're certainly changing the world. Before I hand it off to Marianne to wrap up, tell
Okay.
us, those of us who are on the call, what can we do to help you? Where do you need the most help? And how can we and others be part of the journey and help you even
Well,
further?
we're looking always for volunteers. I'm always searching out new faculty because I like to hire or bring on the best possible people we can find, no matter the gender or the color or the age. But we don't pay honorariums. So if people can help us find amazing speakers who don't necessarily want or know that we don't pay honorariums, but we do buy books. So a lot of our speakers who have been national, we buy their books and give them to our attendees. That's our way of giving back without giving money to people who might not really need it. So I'm looking for volunteers. I'm looking for speakers. And I'm looking for support to get those speakers here. I'm asking people to open doors and connect me to people who they think can not only help us, but they can be helped in the process. Because as you teach, you learn.
And I think we've all learned, and I'll let Marianne close it out, and thank you again.
Okay. Thank you, Michael.
Alex, you are such an inspiration. Thank you for giving us the energy to continue on our week. Yes, Marsha Maccabee, standing applause all over.